Bienvenidos amigos de la comunidad de Panama FIT. Acá les saluda Adrien. Para mí es un gustazo poder estar en esta ocasión acompañándolos y dándoles más de conocer más de la vida de diferentes atletas, diferentes profesionales que cada vez nos sorprenden más de cómo las experiencias que ellos van teniendo nos pueden funcionar en cualquier tipo de profesión, en cualquier tipo de disciplina a la cual usted quiera dedicar. Y para nosotros es un propósito que tenemos aquí en Panama FIT, es poder buscar esas herramientas de que te hagan ser una mejor persona, más saludable, que te encuentres en mejor calidad de vida. Así que bueno, hoy vamos a darle la bienvenida, por ahí debe estar entrando, claro que sí, aquí está nuestro amigo Adrien de Leener. ¿Cómo estás, Adrien?
Muy bien, gracias. No hablo español perfectamente, pero puedo hablar un poco.
¡Oh, no, sorprendente! Hablas muy bien en español, ¿eh?
Poco. Italiano es mejor.
Claro. Well, Adrien, it's a big pleasure, it's a big honor to have here in Panama FIT. The main thing is to know about yourself, to know about who inspired you. What is already 24 hours of driving?
Yeah, so I mean, GT racing in Europe is pretty big, and actually in the US as well, known as sports car racing, right? I think probably the most famous would be Le Mans. So I think pretty much everybody around the world is familiar with the 24 hours of Le Mans. And I mean, it's, how do you call it? It's a mythic race, right? I think, everybody who does motorsport, whether Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, one day does dream to go to Le Mans. It's quite special because as opposed to a lot of sports where it's a lot of motor racing, which is very individualistic in terms of driving, here you're with a team. So you have 2 or 3 other drivers depending on the race. And then of course you have a very big crew. So, probably about 20 people per car total to manage a 24-hour race, from, changing the tire, the engineers, the data engineers, the fuel rig guys. It's a really big organization, and it goes all the way back from, the front of staff all the way to the back of staff. So, the physio team, the nutritionist who kind of helps you throughout a pretty demanding weekend.
How do you start to practice this? Who inspired you? How do you know about this type of sport?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I lived in Italy, and in Italy, motorsport's very big, both, let's say, motorbike racing, so MotoGP, but also car racing, from formula cars to touring cars, they call it. When I was a kid, we lived in Milan, and my father worked in oil and gas. And of course, they were sponsoring a touring car team. Then it was Alfa Romeo, and then BMW and the World Endurance or the World Touring Car Series. And going to the track as a little kid, these cars are phenomenal, and the competition is amazing. The stands are full. It's such an amazing atmosphere, and everybody shares the same passion, which is cars. And I think, if you grow with it as a kid, like a lot of things, you always aspire to do it later. Of course, it was a little bit difficult because, financial means are very important in the sport, and I just could not start when I would have liked to. But fortunately, a little bit later in life, I could start. And although I didn't do karting or formula cars, I went directly to GT. I'm really happy about where I finished now.
So tell me more about your preparation previously the competition, please.
Yeah, so there's 2 parts, right? Like you said, there's the physical part and then there's the mental part. On the physical part, specifically for endurance racing, you need to be fit. At the end of the day, you can spend 2, sometimes 3 hours in a row in the car driving 100%. So it's quite taxing on the body, and actually one helps the other, right? So the fitter you are from an endurance perspective, the more relaxed you are in the car, and then this helps the mental side. On the mental side, what we like to do is a lot of just mental preparation on the track. So where are we going? Simulator training, so getting to learn the track, or just even if you know the track very well, because it usually takes at this point 2 to 3 laps to be on point. It's still driving to a certain extent, so it helps that let's say, fast twitch, muscle twitch memory where it becomes automatic, the circuit. And I think the last part is during the race weekend is really focus, right? So there's so many things happening. You know, you have the fans, you have the track walk, you have the autograph sessions, the media sessions, especially at the very big events like Le Mans or Spa, where you can spend 4 days doing media work and then finally you touch the track. So really kind of staying calm and being focused for the time in the car, because you have so little. It's really important.
Well, no, that's great. You know something, because, okay, that preparation, you have to do it to your sport, but everyone, you know, if I am a worker, if I'm a farmer, you know, always the preparation to have to visualize first what are you going to do. That track work, for example, hey, can you share us about your achievements already? I know that you are competing in a lot of countries. Can you tell us more about that? The position, you know, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably some of the nicer achievements in my earliest stage was I was driving in the Maserati World Series, and we were competing across 3 continents. So we were Europe, we were in Asia, and then we were also in North America. There I won the Young Driver Award when I first started, so I think that was 2012. And then from then on, I moved to, let's say, a much higher category. And in GT3 racing, it's hyper competitive. I think some of the nice achievements in the big races. So, I mean, 8th overall in the 24 hours of Spa, where you have to imagine that it's very much factory drivers everywhere. So people who only drive and do nothing else. We finished 8th. This was really nice with WRT, who was also a Belgian team. And then other than that, you know, good result in the Maserati World Series in 2014. I think finished 3rd overall, but we missed 1 round. So was competing for the title effectively, but I had another event that I had to attend. So I missed 1 round. And then spot races, I think, you know, competing in GT Masters, which is the most competitive GT sprint race in Germany. We finished that in 1 round with my teammate Klaus Bachler in the Porsche. It was really nice. I mean, to work so hard and actually finally make the podium after 1 year, when you have, you know, 34 to 35 really competitive cars, it's really tough.
One anecdote that you remember that, wow, that changed my life in this sport?
An anecdote is tough to come up with. I think for sure the feeling at Spa that one day where you've worked many years, you're now in the top class, and you really, you know, you're not on the podium, but still that feeling is a victory. I think this is an amazing achievement for us in that car at that time with the tough condition. I think a little bit later we had a little bit more bad luck, but I think we'll maybe touch upon that in another question when we talk about failures and then how we manage that. When you do a sport, you do it competitively at the highest level. You expect to be at the highest level, and you want the results at the end, right? And I mean, I can speak about specifically the last 2 years where things were just not working, right? So either the team or you had bad luck, like a tire blows up, you know, such small things. So I usually, you know, always come back to that and say, no, I really believe that we can still do better. And that drive to improve makes me train harder, test more, work harder to achieve something. So, yeah, difficult times happen in everything, whether it's family, work, sport, and it's more about how you turn it around to bring you motivation. I think that's what's key.
Adrien, how do you prepare, you know, for the worst scenario? For example, how do you deal with the crashes, technical problems? How do you deal? How do you prepare? Tell us more about that.
I think it's almost you cannot prepare. So many things in these endurance races can happen. You get the flat tire, you get in an accident, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to react to that situation at the time. And I think the key is to stay calm. right? So a lot of people, when something doesn't go right, they stress, they yell on the radio, and no one knows what to do. What I really try to do is stay calm, communicate to my engineer on the radio exactly what I feel. So is it a flat tire? Is it a mechanical problem? How does the car react? And I give them the time to give feedback. So to look at the data, see if they can understand something, so that when we do have to pit, we have to fix something, hopefully we can fix the problem exactly straight away and not have to waste time taking the car apart, etc. So it's really staying calm and communicating back to the rest of the team as precisely as possible. For accidents, you know, it's a dangerous sport, right? And when you have 60 or sometimes 70 cars on the track, anything can happen. I think you have to start the race knowing that anything can happen and just do the best that you can to stay out of the trouble, especially for these long races.
How is your diet when you're training? So
diet's a good question, right? I think you can have really rigorous diets, right? Or you can say you have to have everything in moderation, right? So I aim to eat very healthy. Lean meats, you talk about, you know, rice, you talk about pasta for carbohydrates, for energy, you talk about shakes for recovery. So there's a whole amount of tools available to you, and it's about understanding your body and what it needs at the time. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, you know, it's understanding, you know, how much effort you're putting on your body. So a lot of people say, you know, I've got to eat less and less and that's going to make me healthier. It's actually not the case, because your body needs the nutrients to recover. So like I said, I'm always listening to my body, understanding when I need to rest, when I need to maybe, you know, have a recovery period and then, you know, eat a higher amount of protein to recover after a race, or when I'm in competition and, you know, between my hours. So sometimes you're driving 8 hours in the night, when I need to just recover with energy, right? So I just need carbohydrates, so I can get through the next 2 hours, and that's what my body needs.
What else do you like to do?
A lot of things, because I think life's about experiences and learning, right? So I think the two go in hand. I really enjoy traveling, visiting new places. I think this is really cool, learning about other people's cultures and how they live and adapting to that, and yeah, just expanding your world, right? Which sometimes feels very small, especially now with the COVID situation. And I also enjoy just all sorts of sport and competition. Cycling in the mountains is one of my favorite things. Just, you know, it's you, the mountain, you focus, you train, and you enjoy beautiful scenery. That's really nice. And then lastly, you know, it's community, so family and friends. You know, just a simple dinner, enjoying time with family and friends is awesome. I think in tough times, you lean on family and friends. You enjoy the social setting. I think this can really reduce, you know, stress and just, I don't know, just bring joy a little bit to life. I think what's also really important is to find something you're passionate about. So even, you know, if maybe something's not working at work or something's not working at home, just finding a sport or an activity, even if it's reading and learning, or just finding something that motivates you, and that hopefully will, you know, transfer to the rest of life, right? So what I find through racing and through travel, I hope there's something out there for all of you that you find really exciting and can get behind. Adrien de Leener, professional motorsport in GT racing. Panama FIT, este, tu mejor versión.